Medical marijuana. What's justly good for America? Every day, 43 children in the United States are diagnosed with cancer. And with that being said, more than 40,000 children undergo cancer treatments each year. These treatments can be very harmful themselves, and as a result, 60% of children who survive cancer suffer late life effects, such as infertility, heart failure, and secondary cancer. Medical marijuana has been proven in studies to help ease the effects of chemotherapy. And going to the curesearch.org will give you a lot of information about cancer, possible causes, and treatments. Yet we still have no cure for cancer, or do we? In the past 5 years, the steps that marijuana legalization in our country has taken are undeniable, and we've seen countless CNN specials on marijuana. With all the benefits of this miracle plant, why does our federal government continue to deny their citizens the right to proper healing? Although 23 states in Washington, D.C. have legalized the use of marijuana for medical purposes, the federal government does not recognize states' rights on this issue. Medical marijuana is arguably less lethal than many of the drugs prescribed by a physician on a daily basis. And with 69% of doctors surveyed in the United States agreeing that medical marijuana can help relieve certain treatments in serious conditions, why does our federal government continue to deny citizens that live in any of the 27 states which medical marijuana remains illegal to use? It's time to discuss why this is not a medical option to all of the citizens of the United States. Since California passed Proposition 215 in 1996, a patient who suffers from a debilitating medical condition like cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, HIV, multiple sclerosis, PTSD, AIDS, hepatitis C, Alzheimer's, IBS, and chronic pain can obtain a recommendation from a doctor for medical marijuana. Did you know that your body has specific receptors in your central nervous and immune systems that are activated by cannabinoids? Marijuana has two main cannabinoids. They are cannabidiol, which is also known as CBD, and CBD is a non-psychoactive chemical which causes no high effect. The second main cannabinoid is called delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, also known as THC. THC is a psychoactive chemical that gives people the high effect associated with marijuana. And in a study published in the Journal of Molecular Therapeutics found that CBD has the ability to stop cancer by literally turning a gene off called ID-1. Also in 2006, a study led by Kim Janda of the Scripps Research Institute discovered that THC slows the formation of amyloid plaques by blocking the enzyme in the brain that makes them. These plaques kill brain cells and potentially lead to Alzheimer's disease. So the question is, with all the proven benefits of medical cannabis, it is still perplexing how medical marijuana is still not legal in most of our country and still remains with such a negative reputation. So I'll ask you this. If medical marijuana has been proven to treat patients and the success is comprehended, why do we continue to deny those in need of this miracle plant? The answer, at least according to our federal government, is drug scheduling. From the late 1800s to the early 1900s, marijuana began to grow famous for recreational purposes. As the intake of the drug increased over time, the Controlled Substance Act of the 1970s classified it as a Schedule I drug. A Schedule I drug is defined as a drug with currently no accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Other Scheduled I drugs are heroin, LSD, ecstasy, methaqualone, and peyote. Making light of the opiate addiction in our country alone is shocking, and the federal government is aware of this. and in recent years facing state-by-state rebellion against unchanging federal drug law, the Justice Department has issued guidance telling prosecutors to focus on significant traffickers of illegal drugs and not medical marijuana users. And even more shockingly, in March of 2016, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected states' challenge to Colorado's marijuana laws, with the federal government agreeing to uphold laws adopted in Colorado and elsewhere that permits adults to buy, sell, or even use an ounce of marijuana. They have contradicted themselves, which is completely unacceptable. Did you know that if a person is found trafficking marijuana, federal law states that a prison term for no longer than 5 years and a fine for no more than $250,000 for first offenses? And this doubles if found as a second offense. See, the problem is that the Controlled Substance Act does not recognize the difference between medical and recreational marijuana. And this marijuana prohibition costs the United States state and federal governments $17.5 billion each year. Although there are current concerns around how medical marijuana is treated differently in each state, there has been progress made toward legalization in the past decade. Medical marijuana laws are no longer the outliers, they are the majority, says Congressman Sam Farr. In 2014, he introduced the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment, which gives the states the right to determine their own laws for medical marijuana use, free from federal intervention. As said by Congressman Farr, the amendment helps with state implementation, but it should also end federal prosecutions, marijuana raids, arrests, criminal prosecutions, and civil asset forfeiture lawsuits, as well as providing current medical marijuana prisoners with a way to petition for their release. And as Congress has approved a budget amendment that prohibits Justice Department funds from being used to prevent states from implementing medical marijuana laws, and as these restrictions on federal enforcement are steps forward, the Compassionate Access, Research Expansion, and Respect States Act, also known as the CARES Bill, would completely remedy the state versus federal conflict over medical marijuana law with far-reaching impacts. These impacts are things like allowing state programs to continue without further federal interference, moving marijuana out of the Scheduled I listing, removing CBD from the scheduling, creating access to banking for services for legal marijuana businesses, and ending the DEA-imposed NIDA monopoly that blocks research on medical marijuana. And lastly, allowing veteran affairs doctors to write recommendations in states that have medical marijuana programs. Since over half of the country now has some sort of legal allowance for marijuana, it's obvious the federal government's war on marijuana is over. Solid data on marijuana's health benefits can be deficient at times due to the federal government designating marijuana as a Schedule I substance. Now that we have approval in 23 states and 69% of medical doctors surveyed in the U.S. say it can help with certain treatments and serious conditions, why is this not a medical option for patients? It comes down to the drug and its scheduling from the federal government. If we did not see cannabis as a Scheduled I substance, our conversation about this would be much different in a more positive manner. And I think Senator Ron says it best with, the benefits of medical marijuana far outweigh the negative effects for those suffering from cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, HIV, multiple sclerosis, AIDS, Parkinson's disease, Crohn's disease, and Alzheimer's, just to name a few. It is now fact that the number of lives federally legalizing medical marijuana will save is undeniable.